Okay. Good afternoon. Thank you for everyone coming out again for our special meeting that is being rescheduled from June 2nd. Tonight, we are just going to have a presentation of 11 Cairn Street, site plan 20-21-22. And we are going to see if we can get everyone caught up to speed as to what the impacts of this or lack thereof of environmental impacts will have on this project. So tonight, I'm just going to turn it over to my manager, Roseanne, so that she can further fill in how tonight is going to go.
Thank you, Mary. We once again do not have a quorum of the REC tonight, so we will not be getting a recommendation from the REC tonight on this project. However, at this point, we have run out the clock on our review time for this project. And therefore, even though we do not have a quorum, we will not have a formal recommendation. Zoning will be taking the comments from the members of the zoning board and completing the SEQR process internally. So that this project can move forward. I would say if there are any questions about that, they should be directed to my office. And with that, we are going to allow the applicant to do a recap of the presentation last week so that the new member joining us today, Rosemary, may have a chance to ask questions. So I think, James, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point.
Perfect. Would you like me to share my screen, or do you want to bring up the graphics of the site? I've got them available if that's easier.
I think since you're doing the talking, it would be easier if you, if it's not a problem, if you brought up the pictures so that it can stay relevant to what you're saying.
Not a problem. Just whoever the host is needs to enable the participant screen sharing so I can do that.
Okay, so Mary, I think we need you to do that.
Okay.
All right. All right. Can you guys all see this okay?
To what you're saying.
Not a problem. Just whoever the host is needs to enable the participant screen sharing so I can do that.
Okay, so Mary, I think we need you to do that.
What am I undoing again? The other screens, do you want to continue? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, I think we're all good. So
Can see it.
Yeah, we can see the screen.
Okay, perfect. All right. Can you guys all see this okay?
Yep.
Not a problem. Just whoever the host is needs to enable the participant screen sharing. I'm getting like a weird like looping going on with the audio.
Mary, can you
What am I
mute yourself,
undoing again?
please?
The other screens, do you want to continue?
I think it's the feedback is from Mary live streaming.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, Mary, if you want to mute the YouTube live stream, that's why we're getting that weird like echo. Anyway, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So thank you guys very much for having this special meeting. We're probably just a little sad not having a quorum again, but at least we get the other member here. We can give you guys an update and let you know what we're planning to do at this site. So our project is located at 11 Cairn Street. It's over in kind of the western portion of the city. This graphic here is twisted, so north is actually toward the right of the screen. The site is located between Cairn Street and West Ave. So Cairn Street is down here at the lower left portion of the site or the screen. We have access from that site through the adjacent property. There are agreements in place, and we'll be doing some formalized easements to make sure that's documented in perpetuity. But again, we access off Cairn Street. We're about 600 feet into the site before you can see it. So there isn't a lot of visibility from that site. The purpose of our application to the city was to develop a replacement building for a structure that was located there and burned down several years ago. The facility itself for the site does a metal scrapping processing facility. So they effectively bring in materials from different businesses as well as a little bit of materials from private individuals looking to scrap the material, obviously for some money compensation. So basically, a client will come into the site, bring the materials in. We kind of reviewed last time. There's quite a bit of regulation and checks with what type of materials are being brought in to ensure there's no hazardous things. It really is just the metal that they're going to be scrapping. And the facility itself actually acts more of a transfer station for the materials. They basically sort and separate them into the appropriate categories and piles, and then basically it all gets packaged back up and shipped off-site for recycling, processing, whatever the final destination of that material's use is going to be. The facility we're looking to build here is about 12,250 square feet. It does contain a small office area, so I'll zoom in here a little bit. Office area is going to be located in this portion of the building, just some meeting rooms, bathrooms, etc. The rest of the building is going to be basically a general storage area. There will also be a couple at-grade loading dock areas here with some smaller scales for the smaller users and customers of the site, as well as a recessed loading dock for any larger tractor trailer things that need to be loaded off. So this is going to be recessed, and then there'll be basically a at-grade loading dock. They can get the materials off at the finished floor elevation. The kind of gray area you see shaded here, this is all going to be flexible pavement, so asphalt pavement, as well as some concrete pads at the loading dock areas. And then this area south or to the lower portion of the building on the screen is going to be for the vehicle scales. So this again, it'll be a vehicle will come in with all the materials, get weighed in here, move around to the back or wherever they're going to be unloading it, and then weigh out on their way out. And the difference in the weight is how they calculate the funds that they will be compensated for. So with this right now, the site is really just kind of a heavily compacted gravel area. So this is the site as it stands today. Again, you can see that it's pretty well, utilized. There's a lot of vehicles inside. That's why it looks pretty beat up. That's why gravel is a pretty appropriate surface treatment for that. However, with the improvements, we're going to kind of create a more dedicated customer area and make it a little bit more nice for the users when they come to the site. So in front of the building here, we have several parking spaces that are going to be accommodating the employees as well as the customers. I believe at any given time, they're going to probably have about 7 max employees at full build out. And you probably have somewhere at max of about 5 customers at any time. So the parking spaces we have provided here are more than enough to accommodate both the employees as well as the max number of customers at the same time. And then a lot of the asphalt improvements to the rear of the building are really just to facilitate a tractor trailer movements. They don't need to get into the gravel areas, although they're highly compacted. They already do adequately support those vehicle movements. But again, we're just wanted to kind of make the site a bit more user friendly. As part of the project, we will be bringing in new utility services. We do need to bring in a new water line. The former building that was located on site, which is to the north part here, you can almost kind of see where the pad used to be. The building was quite a bit larger, approximately like 32,000 square feet. So they are downsizing this a bit from what they had before. But when that building had a fire event and burned down, the water service that was actually extended through the building to the south or to the left on the screen was removed and abandoned. So we're going to be bringing in our own private water service from the Cairn Street public water main. We will be providing a backflow protection equipment, which has already been reviewed and approved by the City of Rochester Water Bureau. We're just waiting for the final approval from the zoning office before we can get plans signed and basically move right into construction. So that will provide protection from the water use. We're going to have a private fire hydrant located in the site for protection, and then it'll just be domestic uses for the office and employee area. There is no water usage or waste products generated from their operations. Again, it's really just a transfer sorting facility. There's no material processing, no chemical waste generated from that. There are several protections against like oil spills on site, both interior to the building as well as exterior to it. And that really is just to protect in case if somehow they miss through all their checks and their scrutiny as customers come in and they're reviewing materials. Occasionally you'll get like oil laden metals and things. So that protection is involved with some underground oil water separators for the interior of the building. And we also actually have some oil water separators on the storm sewer lines outside of the building in case there's an accidental spill in the asphalt area where the customers will be. Any materials that do have the potential for that or are certain categories, they're all moved to contained areas on site. So again, providing another layer of protection from any possible spill or activities that would require remediation. With the building being demolished, with the fire event and being demolished, there was some DEC remediations associated with the site. They did testing, they've completed all of that. They have a clean bill of health from the DEC at this point. So really we're just looking to kind of come in and get this process going so they can get this facility operating at the intended intent. Through this whole process, through the building demolition and everything, they have maintained all their active permits with all the regulatory authorities, so the DEC as well as the city. So they do continue some operations here at a limited capacity. However, obviously the new structure, or the lack of the former one, does kind of inhibit the full capabilities that they'll be looking to do at this site. As part of the project, with a little bit of additional pavement areas, there is a slight increase in stormwater runoff associated with the change from going from a compacted gravel to permeable or a flexible pavement. So with that, we will be doing some slight adjustments to the stormwater facility, which is located to the western portion of the site here. We can do that with just a slight expansion to the volume there, and that will allow us to control the storm runoff rates, which all then discharge through the combined sewer system located along West Ave to the north end of the site, and get those below the peak runoff rates as required by Mineral County Pure Waters. Again, we do have approval from them. They're just waiting for us to basically send over the plans to sign off from that agency as well. And we also have completed our review with the Mineral County Department of Health. So all three of the agencies not directly involved with the city are ready and have had the project approved now for probably about 2.5 months. So really just waiting on this last step. We do have a secondary access onto West Ave at the north end of the site. There is a gate located in this area. It generally remains closed, but in the case of an emergency or for fire access or for some other reason, it can be opened and provide access onto West Ave. This technically isn't a frontage of a public right-of-way. The public right-of-way for West Ave effectively ends at this railroad crossing. So we don't really have true frontage on this side of the site. However, as we received several comments back from the zoning department, screening is obviously a key factor for this site just because of the nature of it. We are looking to do some additional landscape plantings in this location, adjoining the neighboring property's rear parking area, as well as providing some additional screening on the north end of the site along the alleyway of West Ave. As we discussed last time, the site is a completely secured site. It has an entire existing perimeter fence around it now. I believe the applicant is in the process of looking to replace that fence in kind with something newer. There is some areas that have been damaged from people trying to access the site and acquire materials illegally from them, possibly for rescrapping. So I know they have a lot of safety implementations that they'll be looking at as well, cameras around the building and things like that. Lighting is going to really just be limited to the front parking area, as well as around the building, site security purposes primarily. The facility is secured at the end of the night and locked down, so the light fixtures in the parking area will be dimmed and at that accordingly. And our Genie HVAC electrical things, there are still services into the site from some of their previous utilities. So we'll be reconnecting and revising those as necessary for the building. The building itself is going to be a metal panel with a CMU lower finish for about the bottom 8 feet. We'll also be looking to do some bollards at select locations around there, really again, just to protect the building from users in the site, trucks from accidentally bumping into it. We will have a small dumpster enclosure, again, just for the office uses, which is going to be tucked behind the building here in this corner, again, out of sight and out of away. You're not going to be able to see that from any of the public right-of-ways. And I think that's mostly about a good summary of the site, but we're happy to answer any other questions. We can get into the details of the business processes or any other site concerns that you guys might have or that didn't come up at the last meeting.
I just have one quick question about vehicle access, or basically trucks that are bringing in. Do they go straight to the scale, or I assume some kind of sign is going to be posted on what they should do first? Or
Yes, I believe the typical process would be them coming in and pulling up onto this concrete scale, and then they have access through this door right here, which should be a customer part. So they'll come in, go into the customer zone, they'll have to talk with somebody, they'll weigh the scales, and then the employees on site will be directing them where to go and what's appropriate from there.
okay,
James, I would like to add that when those trucks come onto the site, there's signage explicitly identifying what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. And when they sign in at the guardhouse or scale house, they will also be preparing an affidavit that the materials are bringing is consistent with our material acceptance policy. That's a state and federal regulation.
yep. And so then the flatbed or whatever kind of truck it is, do they go to the next concrete slab toward the top of the page?
So this slab here, this is just outside the loading dock areas. This is just a good practice when you have tractor trailer equipment making turning movements. A lot of times they'll park and just turn the wheels without actually moving. On flexible pavement, that can be very detrimental to it and cause a lot of running. So this is just mainly just in front of the loading dock areas where there could be tractor trailers, single unit box trucks or vehicles with heavier nature, especially with the loaded scrap materials. So that's just to help kind of elongate the life of this area.
Okay, so when they weigh it,
the non-ferrous materials obviously go inside the building.
okay. And then when the truck is done, which way does the truck head?
So the truck will basically turn around on this asphalt area, come right back to the same scale, and then proceed right back out to Cairn Street the way they came in.
There's enough turn radius there for a big truck, let's say.
Yep, definitely. I mean, you can kind of see here, this is the interior of the building space. This is enough to support a full tractor trailer WV67 that you'd see on the highway. So there is ample room for them to make this maneuver. That's why this extends so far out into the site. So they can effectively pull out of this or any of these loading docks, make one continuous turn and get off site.
Okay, so my question, I guess, is the truck that brings in the materials, they don't really go to the gravel yard that's toward the top of the page there.
No, the areas outside of this flexible pavement are really going to be for the employees only. That'll be where they'll have their
Yep.
various piles and of things of that nature that are, stored outside of the building.
Okay. No, that's fine. I was just wondering what the traffic pattern was, and I'm okay with that.
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Mary, if you've, I'm sorry, not Mary, Rosemary, if you have some, if you could just put them in the chat. Oh, great. Okay. So does anyone then have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. Is there anything the Cairn Street team would like to add before we wrap up?
I think we've kind of covered it all between this meeting and the one before, but if you guys have any questions, especially you, Roseanne, as you're working through your determination, now that I think it will be kind of in your hands, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. And I can coordinate with both Mike and Bill on any issues you might have.
Okay.
Or if you need support in doing, the part 2 or part 3, I would be happy to provide input or help facilitate that.
Okay. I think prior to this, Mary and I had, mostly Mary had gone through so that we would have any questions to ask you tonight. And I don't think we have any, Mary. I should check though. Did we have any questions while we're here?
The ones that we had were answered prior to this meeting.
Okay. So then, James, I think we may have some random questions as we write up findings, and we'll definitely contact you right away on those.
Perfect.
But you should be hearing from us soon. And as I said, we'll get our information to you as soon as we have it done. And even if that's before we hear back from Monroe. And when we hear back from Monroe, we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, and I do plan on reaching out to Patrick over there to see if I can politely request him to offer us a favor and expedite that to the best of his ability.
Okay. All right. So
Did you get his information that I sent?
I did, yes.
Okay.
okay. All right.
So-
Well,
One quick question, just so I understand the whole thing, because I need to just send a quick update to the court. So you'll go back, get together your findings for the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then on the 18th, you would make a recommendation to which group, or how's that work again? Layman terms?
okay. So what's going to happen is Mary and I are going to get together. We are going to complete part 2 and part 3 of the SEQR and make the designation. That should happen relatively quickly because we have all the information we need for that. Then with that, we will get your site plan review findings ready, drafted up and ready to go when we hear back from Monroe County. And then when we hear back from Monroe County, you will get both the SEQR and the site plan review approval on conditions or denial. It's not going to be a denial. And at least we've seen nothing that would lead us to believe that unless something crazy happens between now and then. And then once you have that, you can apply for your building permit.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, so you said we'll get, what was the second? Yeah, you said we'll get the SEQR and what else was it? The site plan?
The site plan review, the final site plan review findings.
It's effectively the approval letter, Mike, or approval
Yeah,
letter with
Yeah, and I
conditions.
don't believe, James, I'm sorry, I've only been involved with this on the SEQR so far, but there aren't any variances or anything else needed. It was just,
Straightforward.
it was
No, I
just
don't believe
SEQR.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
it
think
was-
there was. Yeah. Okay, so yes, so you should be getting all of that back from us in the next couple weeks, and we will work to do it as quickly as we can. so
Okay,
that
I
as
think
soon
we're all
as we-
set on our end.
As soon as we get Monroe back, we can get you up and running. Yep. Okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you guys all very much for your time tonight.
Right, and thank
have a great
you,
rest
and
of your
thank
evening.
you, board members again for coming to the special meeting. We do appreciate it. And we will be back in touch with you soon. We do have a case for the July agenda. It's going to be a DES project, so there will be a July meeting. All right,
Right.
so we'll be in touch with some information. All right,
Very
thank you
good.
all.
Thank you.